They're attacking Earth? The Galaxy Council watched in horror the forbidden warning. Crystal spires of the Galactic Unity Council chamber reached toward the artificial sky, glowing with soft blue light. 300 species gathered in the vast circular hall, their forms as diverse as the stars themselves. Some floated in containment fields filled with methane gas. Others stood on platforms adjusted to their gravity needs. A few existed only as energy patterns, their thoughts translated into words by ancient machines. Commander Vrask of the Kellian Dominion stood at the central podium, his six-limbed frame casting long shadows across the polished floor. His exoskeleton gleamed like polished obsidian, and his compound eyes reflected the light from 1,000 different angles. He raised his primary manipulators high, demanding attention from every delegate present. Members of the council, Vrask's voice boomed through the translation matrix, reaching every being in their native language. The Kellian Dominion formally announces our claim to the Sol system, specifically the third planet known as Earth. Our survey ships have confirmed abundant resources, rare minerals, diverse biological compounds, and a primitive population that poses no threat to our operations. A wave of whispers spread through the younger delegations. The Novari, who had only joined the council 50 years ago, exchanged excited glances. The Brenthi collective pulsed with curiosity. But among the older races, a different reaction took hold. It started as a tremor among the Valdine, whose civilization spanned 12,000 years. Their representative clutched the edges of her platform, her crystalline form darkening from bright blue to deep purple. Elder Ambassador Thren of the Valdine rose slowly, his ancient body moving with the weight of millennia. When he spoke, his voice carried a quality that made even the most aggressive species pause. It was not loud, but it penetrated every corner of the chamber like the toll of a warning bell. Commander Vrask, Thren said, each word deliberate and heavy. I invoke Protocol Epsilonine. The Sol system is under absolute restriction. No contact, no approach, no interference of any kind. Vrask's mandibles clicked in what his species used for laughter. Protocol Epsilon 9? I have reviewed the Council archives. There is no such protocol in any current legislation, because it is not legislation, replied Ambassador Cythera of the Morphean Collective, another elder race. Her form shifted nervously, flowing between solid and liquid states. It is a warning. A reminder of what happens when species ignore the lessons of history. The younger delegates leaned forward with interest. This was unusual. The elder races rarely invoked ancient protocols, and when they did, it was never without cause. But Vrask was not impressed by age or mystery. If you wish to claim Earth for yourselves, simply say so, Vrask challenged. The Kellian Dominion will not be deterred by cryptic warnings and outdated superstitions. Our scans show a technologically backward world. They have barely ventured beyond their own moon. They fight among themselves with chemical explosives. They are divided into hundreds of separate nations that cannot even agree on basic cooperation. That is what they want you to see, Thren said quietly. Then show me proof, Vrask demanded. Show me these protocols. Explain why an entire planet is restricted when they pose no threat to anyone. Thren's crystalline form seemed to age before their eyes, dimming with sorrow. The protocols are sealed. Only races that have existed for more than 10,000 years may access them. Convenient, Vrask sneered. You cannot prove your claims, so you hide behind secrecy and ancient privileges. A younger Kellion officer approached Vrask and whispered urgently. The commander's expression shifted to satisfaction. I have just received confirmation. Our fleet of 600 warships has departed from Kellion Prime. They will reach the Sol system in 7 standard days. Earth will become a resource colony of the Kellian Dominion, and there is nothing this council can do to stop it. The chamber erupted in chaos. Younger races shouted their support or objection. Traders calculated the economic implications. Scientific communities debated the ethics. But the elder races simply sat in their designated areas, silent and still, like statues at a funeral. High Counselor Mareth, who presided over all council sessions, activated the chamber's silence field. All sound ceased instantly, forcing order through technology rather than respect. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of his position as the Council's supreme authority. Commander Vrask Mareth said, his three-eyed gaze fixed on the Kellyan. The Council cannot prevent member species from conducting military operations outside Council space. However, I must ask you formally, will you reconsider this action? I will not, Vrask replied firmly. Then I must invoke my authority to share certain historical records, Mareth continued. What I am about to show you is classified at the highest level, but the circumstances demand transparency. The chamber's central display activated, projecting a holographic image above the gathered delegates. It showed a star chart from 280 years in the past. One region of space glowed with an angry red marker labeled Corinthian Sovereignty. The Corinthian Sovereignty, Mareth explained, was a spacefaring civilization that existed before most of you were born. They controlled 43 star systems and maintained a military force of over 3,000 warships. They were slavers, conquerors, and considered themselves the dominant military power in their region of space. The image shifted to show a small, primitive spacecraft drifting in the void. Its hull was damaged, leaking atmosphere, clearly disabled by some attack. This was the S. Melbourne, Mareth continued. A human exploration vessel with a crew of 42. It was attacked by Corinthian raiders who intended to enslave the crew and strip the ship for salvage. The Corinthians sent 200 ships to capture this one small vessel. What happened? Asked a young Brenthi delegate. The image changed again, showing debris fields stretching across light years of space. Twisted metal, shattered hulls, the unmistakable signatures of massive explosions painted a picture of complete devastation. The human ship was destroyed, Mareth said, but not before the crew managed to take 73 Corinthian vessels with them. The surviving Corinthian ships returned to their homeworlds and reported what they had encountered. Beings who fought with impossible ferocity, who turned every piece of their ship into a weapon, who refused to surrender even when death was certain. Vrask shifted uncomfortably but maintained his confident posture. An interesting story, but it proves nothing. 42 beings against 200 ships does not explain why an entire planet should be restricted. You're correct, Mareth agreed. That incident alone would not justify Protocol Epsilon. What came next is what changed everything. The holographic display expanded, showing new fleet movements. Thousands of Corinthian warships converging on a single blue planet orbiting a yellow star. The Corinthian sovereignty decided to eliminate what they perceived as a threat, Mareth explained. They sent their entire military might to destroy Earth and eradicate humanity. 3,500 warships, the largest invasion force ever assembled in this region of space. The young delegates watched with rapt attention. Even Vrask seemed curious now, though he tried to hide it, and Vrask prompted. They never returned, Mareth said simply. 3,500 ships entered the Sol system. None came back. When Council observers finally investigated, they found the wreckage of the entire Corinthian fleet scattered throughout the system, and Earth itself was completely untouched. Silence fell over the chamber like a physical weight. The younger species tried to process what they had heard. Some looked skeptical. Others seemed frightened. But Vrask laughed again, the sound harsh and dismissive. You expect me to believe that primitive humans destroyed an entire fleet? With what weapons? Their chemical rockets? We do not know, Thren admitted. We never asked, because by the time we investigated, we had learned a terrible truth about humanity, which is, they are not warriors, Thren said. They are survivors, and there is a profound difference. Warriors fight for honor, for territory, for resources. Survivors fight because the alternative is extinction. There are no rules in survival, no limits, no mercy. Ambassador Cythera flowed forward, her liquid form rippling with distress. After the Corinthian sovereignty fell, we established Protocol Epsilon. We agreed that humanity should be left alone, isolated, given time to develop without interference. We hoped that as they matured, they would become less dangerous. And did they? Asked a delegate from the Nexian Confederacy. We do not know, Cythera replied. Because for 280 years, every species has respected the protocol. Until now, Vrask crossed his 4 primary arms, a gesture of defiance in Kellyan culture. Your story is fascinating, but it does not change reality. My fleet is already traveling to Earth. They carry the most advanced weapons the Kellyan Dominion has ever produced. Our shields can withstand direct hits from stellar phenomena. Our targeting systems can hit a target the size of a Kellyan egg from 1,000,000 kilometers away. Whatever destroyed the Corinthians, we are prepared for it. Oh, Thren said softly. You are not. And stop us, Vrask challenged. Send your own fleets. Enforce your precious protocol. We cannot, High Counselor Mareth said. Council law forbids military interference between member species. We can only warn you, advise you, and prepare for the consequences. What consequences? Mareth's 3 eyes focused on Vrask with an expression that mixed pity and resignation. The consequences of teaching the galaxy that humanity is not dead, not gone, not weakened by centuries of isolation. The consequences of reminding every species in Council space why Protocol Epsilon 9 exists. Vrask turned away from the podium, clearly finished with the discussion. My fleet will reach Earth in 7 days. When we return victorious with a new resource colony, perhaps the Council will finally abandon these ancient superstitions and join the modern age. As Vrask left the chamber, his officers following behind, the elder races remained motionless. They watched the younger species debate and argue and speculate. Some supported Vrask's bold action. Others counseled caution. But none of them truly understood. Elder Ambassador Thren turned to his fellow ancient delegates. We should prepare evacuation protocols for all civilian populations within 200 light-years of Earth.
Agreed,
Sethra replied. And we should dispatch medical ships, rescue vessels, and trauma counselors for Earth. Asked a younger delegate who overheard. No, Thren said sadly. For the Kellians, High Counselor Mareth activated his private communication array, sending encrypted messages to every elder race simultaneously. The message was brief but clear. Protocol Epsilon 9 has been violated. Earth contact is imminent. Prepare for widespread refugee crisis. Prepare for potential galactic panic. Most importantly, prepare to witness what happens when humanity believes their homeworld is under attack. Far from the council chambers, beyond the political debates and ancient warnings, Commander Vrask's fleet traveled through the darkness between stars. 600 warships, the pride of the Kellyan Dominion, moved in perfect formation toward a small blue planet that their commander had promised would be an easy conquest. On the flagship Sovereign's Claw, officers checked their weapon systems and prepared boarding teams. They studied tactical maps of Earth's major cities, calculated optimal bombardment patterns, and drafted surrender terms for the human leaders. Everything was proceeding according to plan. None of them noticed the long-range sensors that tracked their approach from millions of kilometers away. None of them detected the encrypted transmissions that flashed across Earth's communication networks. And none of them understood that every step they took toward that blue planet was bringing them closer to a truth that the galaxy had spent 3 centuries trying to forget. Earth was not defenseless. Earth had never been defenseless. Earth had simply been waiting, preparing, and watching the stars for the day when someone would be foolish enough to ignore Protocol Epsilon 9. That day had finally arrived, and the galaxy was about to remember why humanity's home world carried a warning that transcended politics, diplomacy, and time itself. First contact. First blood. The Kellyan fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. 600 warships hung in the darkness like a swarm of metallic predators, their weapon systems already powered and ready. Commander Vrask stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the distant yellow star that humans called the Sun. Status report, Vrask ordered. His tactical officer, a young Kellyan named Threx, manipulated the holographic display. All ships have arrived successfully. No losses during transit. We are currently 3 billion kilometers from the 3rd planet, scanning for defensive installations, and nothing, Commander. We detect no orbital weapons platforms, no shield generators, no military satellites. Their communications are primitive radio waves and basic digital signals. We are intercepting thousands of transmissions. Most of them appear to be entertainment broadcasts. Vrask's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Entertainment broadcasts during an invasion. These humans are even more primitive than we thought, so we are receiving a transmission from the planet. It appears to be directed at us. Put it through. The communication system crackled to life, and a voice spoke in flawless Kellian language, though the accent was strange. Unidentified fleet. This is Earth Defense Command. You have entered Sol system space without authorization. State your intentions immediately. Vrask gestured for his communications officer to respond. This is Commander Vrask of the Kellian Dominion. We claim this system and all its resources in the name of our empire. You have 1 standard hour to prepare your surrender terms. There was a pause, then the human voice returned. Commander Vrask, we strongly advise you to turn your fleet around and leave this system. You are making a mistake. The only mistake, Vrask replied, is yours. You had an hour. Now you have 30 minutes. He cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. Prepare a demonstration strike. Target an uninhabited area of their largest ocean. Make sure they see what our weapons can do. Coordinates locked, Commander. Firing in 10 seconds. 3 plasma bolts launched from the Sovereign's claw. Streaking across the void toward Earth, they would impact with enough force to vaporize a small island, creating a mushroom cloud visible from orbit. It would be a perfect demonstration of Kellian power, but something unexpected happened. As the plasma bolts entered Earth's atmosphere, thousands of objects suddenly appeared on the fleet's sensors. They had been there all along, hidden by some form of stealth technology that Kellian science had not detected, sir. Threx shouted. Massive sensor contacts appearing throughout the system. Thousands of objects? No, tens of thousands. The plasma bolts never reached their target. Beams of concentrated energy lanced up from Earth's surface, intercepting 2 of the 3 bolts and detonating them harmlessly in the upper atmosphere. The third bolt struck what appeared to be an invisible barrier and dissipated in a shower of sparks. They have shields, Vrask said slowly. They told us they had no advanced technology. Sir, the objects we are detecting, they are satellites, weapon platforms, defense stations. They have been here all along, hidden from our scanners. Before Vrask could respond, Earth transmitted again. The voice was different this time, older and calmer, but with an edge like sharpened steel. Commander Vrask, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Command. You just fired on our planet. You just tried to kill our people. This is your final warning. Leave now, or we will respond with overwhelming force. Vrask slammed his primary manipulator against the command console. Overwhelming force? From a planet that should still be using chemical rockets? All ships, battle formation. Prepare to advance on the 3rd planet. Show these primitives what real military power looks like. The Kellian fleet moved forward in perfect synchronization, 600 warships, advancing in attack formation. Their shields came online, powerful barriers designed to withstand almost any conventional weapon. Their targeting systems locked onto every human satellite and defense platform they could detect. Sir, we are detecting additional contacts, Threx reported, his voice rising with alarm. Ships, Commander. Human ships. They are appearing throughout the inner system. The tactical display updated, showing dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of new contacts. They emerged from behind Earth's moon, from the asteroid belt, from orbital positions that sensors had marked as empty just moments before. How many? Vrask demanded. Still counting, sir. At least 4,000 contacts and rising. They are using advanced stealth systems. Our sensors cannot get accurate readings until they deactivate their concealment fields. Vrask studied the display with growing unease. The human ships were not uniform like a proper military fleet. Some appeared to be military vessels with clean, functional designs. Others looked like converted civilian craft, cargo haulers with weapons bolted to their hulls. A few seemed to be nothing more than engines strapped to what looked like mining equipment. They have armed their civilians, Vrask observed. Desperate and disorganized. Sir, incoming transmission from multiple human ships. They are broadcasting on all frequencies. Let me hear it. What came through the speakers was not military communication or surrender terms. It was music. Loud, aggressive music with a driving beat, and human voices singing in their native languages. Mixed with the music were voices. Hundreds of voices, all saying different things, but with the same underlying tone. Defiance. Come on then. One voice shouted in Kellyan translation, "You want our home? Come take it." Another yelled, "For Earth." Thousands of voices chanted together. Vrask cut the transmission with a sharp gesture. Disable their communications. Jam their frequencies. We are trying, sir, but they are using dozens of different systems. Some are so primitive that our jamming technology does not affect them. They are broadcasting on ancient radio frequencies that our systems were not designed to block. Then destroy their ships, Vrask ordered. All vessels, open fire. The Kellyan fleet unleashed its fury. Hundreds of plasma cannons fired simultaneously, filling the space around Earth with deadly energy. It should have been a massacre. The human ships were smaller, less advanced, and vastly outnumbered by Kellyan standards, but the humans did not fight like any military force Vrask had ever encountered. Instead of forming defensive lines or attempting to match the Kellyan firepower, the human ships scattered in every direction. They moved with no apparent pattern, no coordination, no military discipline. Some ships dove toward Earth's atmosphere. Others accelerated toward the Kellyan fleet at angles that made no tactical sense. They have no formation, Threx exclaimed. No discipline. Then they will die without discipline, Vrask replied. Continue firing. But hitting the human ships proved far more difficult than expected. They moved unpredictably, changing direction without warning, performing maneuvers that should have killed their crews from acceleration forces. When plasma bolts came close, the humans deployed clouds of metallic chaff that absorbed or deflected the energy, and then the humans began their counterattack. The first sign of trouble came when a small human fighter accelerated directly toward a Kellyan destroyer. The destroyer's defensive systems locked onto the tiny craft and fired. But the fighter jinked aside at the last possible second. It unleashed a barrage of what appeared to be solid projectiles. Simple metal slugs accelerated to incredible velocities. The slugs punched through the destroyer's shields like they were not there. Kellyan shields were designed to stop energy weapons and large missiles, but these tiny projectiles were too small and too fast for the defensive systems to track. Report, Vrask demanded. The destroyer's hull has been breached. They are reporting casualties and system failures. Sir, the humans are using kinetic weapons. Solid projectiles. Our shields are not calibrated to stop them. Recalibrate immediately. We are trying, sir, but each time we adjust, they change their ammunition. Different sizes, different velocities, different compositions. They are adapting faster than we can compensate. More human ships pressed their attack. A converted cargo hauler, slow and ungainly, somehow got close enough to a Kellyan cruiser to launch its payload. Thousands of small objects that spread out in a cloud around the larger ship. Threx reported. Primitive chemical explosives, but there are thousands of them. The cruiser cannot maneuver without hitting them. The cruiser tried to use its point defense systems to destroy the mines, but there were too many. Explosions rippled across its hull as it plowed through the cloud. Its shields flickered and died. Its engines went dark. We have lost the cruiser. It is drifting without power. Vrask watched his tactical display with mounting horror as more ships turned red, indicating casualties or total loss. The humans were using tactics that made no sense by conventional military standards. They were sacrificing their own vessels, ramming Kellyan ships at full speed, detonating themselves to create openings for other human craft to exploit. This is insane, Vrask muttered. They are killing themselves. Sir, incoming message from one of our damaged ships. They report human boarding parties. Boarding? How did they get through our shields? They did not go through, sir. They are drilling through the holes. They are using simple mechanical drills to breach our armor, then sending soldiers inside. On the main view screen, Vrask could see one of his cruisers under attack. Small human craft had attached themselves to the hull like parasites. Cutting torches blazed as they burned through the armor plating. And then, impossibly, humans in simple pressure suits began pulling themselves through the holes into the ship's interior. Send security teams to repel the boarders, Vrask ordered.
Got it.
The security teams are reporting that the humans are fighting with primitive weapons, projectile firearms, and edged weapons. But they are winning. How is that possible? They are not trying to capture sections of the ship, sir. They are destroying it from the inside. Sabotaging life support, cutting power lines, setting explosives in critical areas. By the time our security teams reach them, the damage is already done. Another ship went dark on the tactical display. Then another. The Kellian fleet, which should have been executing a simple conquest, was being torn apart by an enemy that fought with tools that belonged in a museum. All ships fall back to defensive positions, Vrask commanded. Regroup at the outer system marker. But the humans did not allow an orderly retreat. They pursued the Kellian fleet like predators hunting wounded prey. Human fighters harried larger ships, forcing them to waste ammunition on difficult targets. Converted cargo ships blocked retreat paths, forcing Kellian vessels into killing zones where concentrated human fire could overwhelm individual ships. We are detecting a new group of contacts, Threx reported. Large vessels approaching from the outer system. They are big, Commander. Much bigger than anything we have seen so far. The tactical display updated, showing new ships emerging from behind Jupiter's massive bulk. These were not converted civilian vessels or small fighters. These were true warships, purpose-built for destruction. Their hulls bristled with weapons, and their engines generated power signatures that rivaled Kellian capital ships. How long have those been hiding there? Vrask asked. Unknown, sir. They must have been stationed behind the gas giant using its magnetic field to mask their signatures. The new human warships moved with terrible purpose toward the Kellian fleet. They did not scatter or use erratic maneuvers like the smaller craft. They moved in formation, professional and disciplined. Like the military force that Vrask had expected Earth to lack entirely. Admiral. Chen's voice came through the communication system again. Commander Vrask, what you have been fighting so far are volunteers. Civilians who chose to defend their home. Our actual military has not yet engaged. This is your last chance to retreat before things become significantly worse for you. Vrask stared at the display. At the ships he had already lost, at the human forces that continued to grow as more vessels emerged from hiding. He thought about the story told in the council chambers. It's about the Corinthian sovereignty and their 3,000 ships that never returned. Sir, Threx said quietly, what are your orders? For the first time in his military career, Commander Vrask found himself facing a truth he had never considered, that his mighty fleet, his invincible warships, his perfect tactical planning meant nothing against an enemy that refused to follow any rules he understood. Prepare the fleet for full retreat, Vrask said, his voice hollow. All ships return to faster-than-light capability as soon as possible. And if the humans pursue? Vrask looked at the blue planet on his view screen, at the world he had thought would be an easy prize. Then we pray that they show us more mercy than we intended to show them. The wrath of Terra the retreat was not orderly. It was chaos painted across the void in burning metal and spreading debris fields. Commander Vrask's fleet, once the pride of the Kellion Dominion, fractured like glass under a hammer as they tried to escape Earth's reach. Status of the fleet, Vrask demanded. Though part of him did not want to know the answer, Threx worked his console with all four hands, trying to compile accurate data while more ships reported casualties every second. We have lost 273 vessels, Commander. Another 142 are too damaged to achieve faster-than-light speeds. The remaining ships are attempting to retreat, but the humans are pursuing. 273 ships. Nearly half his fleet destroyed in less than 6 hours. The Kellian Dominion had not lost this many vessels in the last century of warfare combined. How are they pursuing? Vrask asked. We should be able to outrun them. Our engines are superior. Sir, the human ships are not trying to outrun us. They are predicting our retreat vectors and positioning themselves in our path. It is as if they know exactly where we are going before we do. On the main view screen, Vrask watched as a group of human fighters intercepted 3 Kellion destroyers, attempting to reach minimum safe distance for faster-than-light travel. The human craft moved with practiced precision now, no longer the chaotic swarm from earlier. They had been testing the Kellian defenses, learning their patterns, and now they attacked with surgical efficiency. They were studying us, Vrask realized aloud. The entire battle. They were learning how we fight, sir. Incoming transmission from Earth. It is Admiral Chen again. Put it through. The human admiral's face appeared on the view screen. She looked tired but calm, like someone who had just finished a difficult but necessary task. Behind her, Vrask could see what appeared to be a military command center with dozens of humans working at various stations. Commander Vrask, Chen said, "Your damaged ships are leaking atmosphere and radiation. Your crews are dying. Stop running and allow us to provide humanitarian assistance." Vrask's mandibles clicked in disbelief. "You are slaughtering my fleet and you offer assistance?" "We are defending our home," Chen corrected. "There is a difference. Your damaged ships pose no threat. We have no desire to kill crew members who are no longer combatants. Surrender those vessels and we will ensure their safety." "So you can take prisoners? Use them as hostages?" Chen's expression hardened. "Commander, in the past 6 hours, we have disabled 47 of your ships. We could have destroyed them all. We chose not to. That should tell you something about our intentions." Vrask looked at his tactical display. She was right. Many of the damaged ships should have been obliterated. But the human attacks had focused on propulsion and weapon systems rather than life support. They had been surgical, precise, targeting only what was necessary to eliminate threats while preserving life where possible. "Why?" Vrask asked. "Why show mercy to an invasion force?" Because, Chen replied, "War is not about killing everyone you can. It is about protecting what matters. Your crews followed orders. They are not our enemy. You are." Before Vrask could respond, new alarms sounded across his bridge. More human ships were appearing on sensors, but these were different from the fighters and warships they had encountered. These were massive vessels, larger than Kellian dreadnoughts, with unusual configurations that suggested purposes beyond simple warfare. Sir Threx reported, "Those ships are not weapons platforms. They appear to be industrial vessels, construction ships, mining platforms, even what looks like an asteroid processing station. Why would they bring industrial ships to a battle?" The answer came seconds later as one of the massive human vessels moved alongside a crippled Kellian cruiser. Instead of attacking, it extended mechanical arms that carefully grasped the damaged ship and began pulling it away from the battle zone. "They are rescuing our crews," Threx said in amazement. "Even while the battle continues, they are rescuing our people." Admiral Chen's voice continued, "Commander, we are going to disable your remaining combat-capable ships. You can either surrender peacefully and preserve the lives of your crews, or you can continue fighting and force us to use more aggressive measures. The choice is yours, but choose quickly. We have medical teams standing by." Vrask felt the weight of command crushing down on his exoskeleton. He thought about the 600 ships he had brought to this system, confident of easy victory. He thought about the crews who trusted him to lead them safely. He thought about the warnings from the Galactic Council that he had dismissed as superstition. Vrask said quietly, "Signal all ships to stand down. Deactivate weapons and shields. We surrender, sir. Do it now." As the order spread through the fleet, Kellian ships began powering down their weapon systems. Some captains protested, wanting to fight to the end, but most accepted the reality of their situation. They were beaten, and continuing would only result in more deaths. The human response was immediate and overwhelming. Hundreds of vessels surrounded the Kellian fleet, but they did not attack. Instead, they formed what appeared to be an escort formation, guiding the disabled ships toward Earth's moon where temporary facilities had been established. Sir Threk said, "We are receiving detailed instructions for our retreat. They are providing us with navigation data, locations of medical ships, even lists of which vessels need priority assistance based on crew injuries. They have been tracking our casualties." Vrask asked. "Apparently, sir. They know which of our ships suffered hull breaches, which have radiation leaks, which crew members need immediate medical attention. They have been monitoring everything." On the view screen, Admiral Chen's expression softened slightly. "Commander Vrask, what you need to understand is that we have been preparing for this day for almost 300 years. Every ship, every weapon, every tactic you encountered was designed specifically to counter threats from space. We did not want this fight, but we were ready for it." "How?" Vrask asked. "How could you prepare for something that had never happened?" "Because it did happen," Chen replied. "A long time ago, another species attacked us. They thought we were primitive and weak. They learned otherwise, and word spread throughout the galaxy. For 3 centuries, we have lived under a quarantine, isolated from the rest of galactic civilization, wondering if anyone would ever be foolish enough to ignore the warnings." She leaned forward, her eyes intense. "Do you know what we did during those 300 years, Commander? We built. We planned. We watched every ship that passed through our region of space, studied every technology, learned about every species in the Council. We prepared for the day when someone would test us." "The Council," Vrask said bitterly. "They knew. They tried to warn me." "Yes, they did. And you should have listened." A new voice interrupted the conversation, coming through the command ship's communication system. It was High Counselor Marith, broadcasting from the Galactic Unity Council chambers across light-years of space. "Commander Vrask, this is High Counselor Marith. The Council has been observing the battle. We are prepared to offer mediation services if both parties agree." Admiral Chen glanced at something off-screen, then nodded. "Earth will accept Council mediation, provided certain conditions are met." "Name them," Marith said. "First, all Kellian personnel currently in the Sol system will be treated according to recognized humanitarian standards and return to their people unharmed. Second, the Kellian Dominion will formally acknowledge that they violated Earth's sovereignty and agree to reparations for the attack. Third, the Council will update Protocol Epsilon 9 to make the restrictions on Earth contact absolutely clear to all member species." Vrask wanted to protest, but what leverage did he have? His fleet was defeated. His crews were at human mercy. He had no ground to stand on. "The Kellian Dominion accepts these terms," Vrask said, each word feeling like broken glass in his throat. "Excellent," Marath replied. "Commander Vrask, you and your senior officers are requested to travel to Council Station Prime for a full debriefing. The Council wishes to understand exactly what happened here. Over the next several hours, the human forces executed a rescue operation that was more impressive than their military victory. Medical ships arrived to treat Kellian wounded. Engineering teams helped repair damaged vessels enough to make them space-worthy for the journey home. Human and Kellian crew members worked side by side to rescue trapped personnel. From damaged ships, Vrask watched from his bridge as human. Engineers in simple pressure suits worked too. Repair a Kellian destroyer that had lost all power. They moved with efficiency and compassion, treating the enemy they had just defeated with more dignity than many species showed their allies. Sir Threk said quietly, "The humans are asking permission to come aboard the Sovereign's Claw to assist with our damaged navigation systems. Are we in danger?" "No, sir. They simply want to help ensure we can make the journey to Council space safely." Vrask gave his permission, and soon a team of human engineers arrived on his bridge. They were led by a woman who introduced herself as Chief Engineer Maria Santos. She was small by Kellyan standards, barely reaching Vrask's lower thorax. But she moved with confidence. Commander Santos said through a translation device, "We have replacement parts for your navigation computer. With your permission, we can have you back to full operational capacity in a few hours. Why would you help us?" Vrask asked. "We came here to conquer your world," Santos shrugged, a human gesture that the translator interpreted as indifference. "You came here because your leaders made a bad decision based on bad intelligence. Your crew members are just following orders. No point in making them suffer more than necessary. As the human engineers worked, Vrask found himself talking with Santos. She explained how Earth had spent centuries building hidden defenses, how they had established sensor networks throughout their solar system, how they had converted civilian industries to be able to produce military hardware at a moment's notice. Every shipyard, every factory, every mining operation in our system has a secondary purpose, Santos explained. We built a civilization that looks peaceful and primitive from a distance, but can transform into a war machine when threatened. It is our insurance policy, and the Council knew about this. Vrask asked, because some of them suspected. The older races understood that we would not simply roll over and die if attacked. They tried to warn you. I thought they were trying to keep Earth for themselves. Santos laughed, a sound that the translator struggled to convey properly. Keep us, Commander. We are not a prize to be won. We are not a resource to be exploited. We are human beings defending our home. That is all we have ever wanted, to be left alone to live our lives. And if someone threatens that, her expression turned serious. Then they learn what you learned today, that humanity will do whatever it takes to survive. 3 days later, Commander Vrask stood before the Galactic Unity Council once again. But this time, he was not confident and proud. He was humbled and defeated, returning to report on the worst military disaster in Kellyan history. The chamber was full. Every delegation wanted to hear firsthand what had happened when someone violated Protocol Epsilon 9. Vrask's testimony was broadcast across the galaxy, ensuring that every spacefaring species would understand the lesson. We underestimated them, Vrask said simply. We believed our technology made us superior. We thought our numbers guaranteed victory. We were wrong on every count. Elder Ambassador Thren spoke, his ancient voice carrying sadness, but not satisfaction. Commander, what will you tell your people about what happened? Vrask considered carefully before answering. I will tell them the truth. That we attacked a civilization that wanted only to be left alone. That we suffered greatly for our arrogance. And that humanity is not primitive, not weak, and never to be underestimated. High Counselor Mareth activated the chamber's display systems. The Council has received Earth's official statement regarding future contact. Admiral Chen, would you please share that statement? Chen's face appeared on screens throughout the chamber. She looked directly into the camera as she spoke, ensuring every being in Council space could see her clearly. To the civilizations of the galaxy, Chen began, Earth has no desire for conquest or expansion. We do not seek to join your conflicts or interfere with your affairs. We ask only for the freedom to develop our civilization in peace. However, this recent attack has shown us that isolation is no longer sufficient protection. Therefore, Earth formally requests observer status in the Galactic Unity Council. We will not participate in votes or political matters, but we wish to maintain diplomatic contact with peaceful species. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates welcomed Earth's willingness to engage. Others feared what it meant to have such a dangerous species involved in galactic affairs. Even as observers, Mareth called for silence. The Council will consider Earth's request. In the meantime, Protocol Epsilon 9 has been updated and expanded. The Sol system is now protected by the strongest prohibitions in Council law. Any species that violates these restrictions will face immediate sanctions and potential military response from Council forces. Vrask listened as the Council formalized what he had learned through blood and defeat. Earth was not to be touched, not to be threatened, not to be underestimated. The blue planet that looked so peaceful from space was home to a species that had turned survival to an art form. As the session concluded, Vrask prepared to return to Kellyan's space to face judgment from his own government. But before he left, Ambassador Thren approached him privately. Commander, the ancient being said, I want you to understand something. The Council does not blame you personally. We blame ourselves for not making the dangers clear enough. Protocol Epsilon 9 was created to prevent exactly this situation. Why did you not simply tell everyone the truth? Vrask asked. Because the truth is difficult to believe until you experience it yourself. How could we explain that a species exists that turns every aspect of their civilization into a potential weapon. That they prepare for threats that may never come? That they refuse to accept defeat even when it seems inevitable? You could have shown evidence, shared data. Thren's crystalline form dimmed with sorrow. We tried, Commander. With the Corinthians, with several other species over the centuries, but young civilizations always believe their technology makes them superior. They think ancient warnings are superstitions or tricks. So the cycle repeats. Will it repeat again? Vrask asked. Eventually, Thren admitted. In another few centuries, some new species will rise to prominence. They will look at Earth and see opportunity. They will dismiss the warnings and attack. And the lesson will be learned again, written in the wreckage of their fleets. Vrask thought about his defeated ships. His casualties and the mercy Earth had shown despite having every reason for vengeance. Perhaps, he said slowly, the lesson is not about Earth's military power. Perhaps the lesson is about what happens when you threaten someone's home. Thren's form brightened slightly, the equivalent of a smile in his species. Now you understand, Commander. That is exactly the lesson. And it is why Earth will never be conquered, no matter how advanced or numerous their enemies may be. Because you cannot defeat a species that fights not for glory or resources, but for the simple right to exist. As Vrask departed Council Station Prime, he looked back at the central displays showing Earth's star system. Somewhere in that yellow star's orbit, humanity continued their daily lives, building their civilization, raising their children, and always watching the stars. They did not seek war, but they were ready for it. They did not want enemies, but they knew how to defeat them. And most importantly, they had taught the galaxy a lesson that would echo for generations. That technology and numbers meant nothing compared to the determination of beings defending their home. The blue planet called Earth rotated peacefully on the view screen, beautiful and serene. But Vrask knew the truth now. Beneath that peaceful appearance lay the most formidable defensive force the galaxy had ever encountered. Not because they had the best weapons or the largest fleet, but because they possessed something that could not be replicated or conquered, the absolute refusal to let anyone take their home. And that, Vrask realized, was what made humanity truly terrifying.